Hello, everybody. We'll be talking about some things this morning about digital software transmitter. We understood that from every house there tends to be a radio band that is sent out, and this radio band it tends to be in frequencies. There tends to be a movement of frequencies, and it has to do with some other things like the modular frequencies, and it has to do with the eyesight, eye hear, the eye taste, the eye touch, and the eye smell. And all these are interacting all together, and the waves are coming out of the place. And then it tends to be what is known as a digital transmitting system. This can be in our radio, the radio houses, where bands are given out like bands from music. Formerly, we had the analog and the digital, but we didn't have anything like having no hardware. In this system that I'm about talking about, we have no hardware. And in this system, we know definitely that we are having something like the radio wave. As the radio wave moves on, it tends to gets to move definitely. It stops and move, stops and move, stops and move. That's the radio frequency. But the intermittent space is actually what we know as the domain or the iClouds. And those iClouds definitely that's the stretchy part of it. The stretchy part of it is that this part of the domain is where everything is being recorded. So during a live transmission, the wave comes and goes through a transient position, and through this transient position, we experience what is called an auto recording process. So anytime the sound comes into this cloud, into this domain center, it is recorded. And once we can tap into that cloud, then we can have a live recording. So what happens definitely is that the wave comes from the radio and gets to a place closer to the reception, to every person, and then gets into the domain or to the recorder or to the iCloud system. The iCloud system might be just their desk, their computer, or anything that has a system of wave system that recognize the wave coming from the radio, and then they can tap from that source. What will tap from that source? The radio app will tap from that source. The radio initial apps will give the initial reception, or what is disseminated out, and it gets into the domain, into the iClouds before or after, or gets into the domain of the iClouds of the table, the computer, and any other thing, and then something happens. And when something happens, it records immediately. And when it records, it can be transmitted. You can hear them. You can hear all the sounds. And this is known as digital software transmitter. It tells you that there is no hardware. You don't need the hardware. What you actually need is the radio pumping the music, sending the music out, and having a desktop where you have the names of the people that you want to send this music to. So in this kind of digital software transmitter, you can tell the people that you want to listen to your music. So if you want every person in the world to listen to your music, you just get there, tap it, boom, goes like that. And I tell you, you can make it an eye hear feature where they don't need an headphone. They just sit at anywhere and they're listening to your radio. And when they don't like it, they tap, boom, they won't hear it anymore. No hardware. You're playing your music, it's coming out from the radio, coming out from your speakers. And from your speakers, it goes to them, and they don't need their headphones or anything. It gets to them, and if they want to see, it gets into their eyesight, and they can see. And that's in terms of television. And if you want to send it to the computer, you can send it to the computer through the iClouds or through the domain. This is beautiful. This is life in heaven. Amen. Amen. My pastor this morning. It's beautiful knowing about all this process, and it's a sight. And we have here the radio station, and we have here the listeners. We have here the transmitting software, know-how, the digital radio transmitter. We have here the domain, the cloud. Look at here. We have the radio wave coming like that. The transient space, as the intermittent space, having the domain and the cloud. This is related to this, or it can be related to this. But this is related to this more, to the radio app that the receiver had. That's the person wanting to listen to you. He had a radio receiver. So once you have the code to his personal radio app, you can send an information. You can send radio waves or television waves to the person. And it's beautiful. Just domain and iClouds in the intermittent space or in the transient space. Beautiful. Another thing I would like to tell you people about is that there's a beauty in the spectral form. Because in most times we understood from the past that there tends to be a formation like that sometimes you don't really enjoy your radio very well. But I tell you something, there's quality in this radio because there's no transmission loss. It's 100% quality because it goes through the domain. It's totally digital. No hardware problem. No, it's only your softwares. Having your software here as your radio app or television app, connecting your radio to the app. If you want to send it to another app, and then keep the codes in there and send it, and it gets into the server of the computer there through the table, the computer, or any system there that has a domain or your iCloud system. Having that with, or you run into the wave itself, and then you can tap it through the radio app. Amen. Beautiful. And then we have some other things like the makeup of the house is definitely. And the radio setting, you need some other things. You need some things like the acoustic. The beautiful acoustic, how good they are, how protective they are. And buy the ones that can burn. Buy my kind of acoustic that can actually burn. Yeah? It's pretty and better. Do that. Apart from a pure acoustic room for your radio and television, because this might give you a good quality quality about your reading. Since when you're broadcasting through microphones or using mixers or anything, if you have to do what we call a normal release system, where you use your speakers to send the waves out, but if you don't need to use your speakers to send the wave out, you can use your software to send the wave out, your radio app software to send the wave out. And this is really beautiful. Look at the waves here, they are beautiful. Look at the waves, they are beautiful. Look at the waves, look at the waves, look at the waves. They are beautiful. Moving to the listening ends. And here you have the transit space, the intermittent space. And this is where this is a domain or cloud where the data is stored. Beautiful. Thank you. Bye-bye.